Welcome to my review here with the Porsche Macan facelift. Let's go. In the front, what has the facelift changed? Well, the fog lamps went away and you have a new daytime running light here in the lower area. LED is now from standard, and optional you can get adaptive LED lights. I think this is a very good example for a nice sleek SUV design. There's always the problem with designing SUVs because they're just higher, so they tend to look a little bit clumsier than lower cars, but I think they manage it here quite well. Just round design scheme here overall. 18 to 21 inch wheels are available. Those ones are the top wheels here. I'll talk about later about those ones here as for the comfort. Coming to the rear of the vehicle, you see the biggest difference from the exterior since the facelift, and that is this light strip that goes all over the vehicle now, corresponding also to their all new models. I think it fits the car very well and also stretches the width a little bit more. Other than that, still a very round design scheme. That's always special here when you open the hood. The light stays down and then those gaps in top of the hood. Very interesting with the Macan. Today the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, 6.5 seconds is the acceleration, 245 horsepower. With the sports chrono package, of course, this 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour acceleration. Then there's also a 3-liter V6 in the Macan S with 354 horsepower, 5.4 seconds acceleration figure, so about a second faster. And then there's the new downsized 2.9-liter V6 turbo with 440 horsepower in the Macan turbo. Since the facelift, what changes do we have here? Well, it's mostly about the infotainment screen, but we'll soon take a detailed look at that from another perspective. So far, let's talk about the seats. They are base seats that then rather go like straight here and also in the left area. Those ones here are the adaptive sport seats that have a wider shoulder area right there and also bigger bolsters in this and also in the lower part. Besides that, as for the surfaces, as a standard Macan, both also in Europe and the US, the middle parts usually come with Alcantara and the outside then leatherette. And the great thing is you get them in black, in beige like here, but also in gray. Those 3 colors available, also with nice Alcantara. Welcome to this updated interior. Main element here, this new screen, 11 inch. That's the biggest news. Well, you have just a clearer view. Everything is bigger and wider and also easier to control. This one here is the GPS, for example, suit more details to that. Steering wheel right here again with just a few controls right there. The right side here, right thumb to control the very small screen on the right side part here. Rather classic instrument with this analog dials. Well, the right one, of course, is then the screen. For example, also with all-wheel drive information or also then the GPS map if the GPS is running. And on the left side, you have the volume control. Nice shifting pedals here too. You still have some hotkeys here for the infotainment screen and also the volume control here, so steering wheel and here. Then the lower console here, you know, there are a lot of buttons still. Do you like that? Do you like it separated like this one here, or is it maybe too much? I like it these at the temperature control still menu. However, it's not that easy to control as you would just have a turning knob, but that one is still separated right here. when we drive, we also talk about those different driving modes. And this automatic gearbox here, quite high, this lever we see. They nowadays also in the all new cars put very, very small ones where you can almost shave with. Well, that's an insider, you get it when you watch the 911 review. And there are also adaptive cup holders right there. And then you have an armrest, by the way, shake test here, pretty well attached. And underneath you have 2 USB supplies, put your smartphone, and also below that some other clutter. And this is the new infotainment screen here with a nice CPU unit. You see here, pinch and zoom works pretty well. You also get somewhat like a feedback with the clicks. Phone either via Bluetooth or with Apple CarPlay, then with the cable connection, and then you can go right here. This is the integration. You can at the same time see the GPS because it has this wide screen, very interesting. Let's get inside here, and it is an SUV, mid-size SUV, and therefore you also have some decent upright seating position. However, I always raise the back part of the seat a little bit higher, so this would be the lowest position. And one is 86 or 6'1", still leaves plenty of headroom. If you go for the optional panoramic roof, you will have a little bit less headroom, but you see, it will still also work for tall people. So I put the back part of the seat always a little bit more upright, so the seating position is a little bit more upright, you have better overview and also more long-term comfort. Well, if AJ and I test the very same vehicles, always take into account that AJ is a little bit smaller, so that's more helpful if you are also maybe rather his size, and if you're rather my size, then it's better for you to watch my review too, or maybe just compare those, because AJ was quite fine here in the rear, but I'm actually not, so the package of this vehicle is not the best. Yes, it's shorter than the Cayenne, but then again, for the length of this vehicle, it does not offer so much rear legroom. That's rather disappointing. So I do hit the seat here with my knees, and I'm in the driving position I would be driving indeed. Headroom-wise, that's no problem. And I really love this beautiful Alcantara ceiling. Then there's also some USB supplies here, 2 USB supplies in the rear, next to, if you want, additional climate zone. Isofix at the outer parts of the seats. And there's also an armrest with cup holders right there. And you can even use this one here as a ski hatch. It's always a little bit funny because you open the Macan trunk right here at the wiper. And then as for the measurements, here you can have about just under 1 meter in length and just about 1 meter in width. That's totally okay. And in height right there at this cover, about 50 centimeters, of course a little bit less in the front area. Liter figures here is 500 liters like this and 1,500 liters if I flip the seats. Here, and if you want the best comfort, the air suspension will do best, yes, and then you might as well spend the extra money on that. So where an air suspension is available, I think usually it's also good to go for it. With BMW, it's not that necessary because their normal adaptive suspension are really that superb that they also have a lot of comfort even if you didn't pick the extra air suspension. Here, you definitely have more comfort when you have the air suspension, no doubt. And well, together with this 21-inch wheels, the suspension is indeed quite stiff. Think about this engine here in the Golf, for example, 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. We also end up with about 8. We can also drive it at 7. This one's a little bit heavier, this one is an SUV, so something close to 9 is realistic. If you keep it slow, you can of course exceed it. That would be some 29 mpg US or 31 mpg in the UK, something in that region. Now when we're going uphill, it's of course also a little bit more. And we'll soon now get to our high-speed part. Before that, someone will he overtake us? Come on, show our viewers. There it is. Thank you. Thanks. So that was the blind spot monitor. Also a very important safety feature. You should definitely go for that. And yeah, sadly, Porsche makes you pay extra for almost everything. Now we'll also go to the sports mode. The sports mode will turn up the RPMs a little bit higher. Will give us a little bit more sound and also changed not only the shifting characteristics, also the throttle input, for example. And we'll get that now on the motorway part where we can really accelerate it out and see, is this still, performance-wise, a real Porsche? So we'll let this, now we go for one of these cars. 50 kilometers to whatever. Well, that's 150. So that was 50 to 150. And directly some comments to high-speed driving. Now we're about 160. And see, it's not too loud here. So that's still somewhat reasonable. So I'm fine with that. And the car also remains very stable. In the sports mode, also the suspension, when you have the adaptive suspension, or also the air suspension, which is also an adaptive one, then also the suspension goes a little bit stiffer to have a little bit more control over the car. So really feels very good at high speeds. Of course, that's something what a Porsche also stands for. And now to our conclusion for today with the Porsche Macan here in the recent facelift and also the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. Exterior-wise, one of the sleekest SUVs in this mid-size SUV segment, so to me still a beauty. The facelift changes, it's matter of taste, maybe a little bit more elegant here with these new daytime running lights. I mean, why not, but not the biggest change. The big change is really on the interior with this new infotainment system. I think that's good, especially the CarPlay integration is a little bit better than before. And also, you just have, the wider screen can do more things. Still a lot of buttons left there too. Great build quality also in the interior. You also get some nice Alcantara seats, even just as a base trim. And you can also save some money. And that would also be my tip because, well, this engine here, yes, it's still a real Porsche performance-wise. Of course, you don't have the same, one-to-one, same performance as with the bigger engine. And also maybe the bigger engine gives you a little bit more confidence on the road and maybe a little bit more sound. But still, if you just ask about the performance, that's just it. My tip here again, don't go for such big wheels here or pick the air suspension also. That's a very good feature. Other than that, you really have to pay attention the car does not get too expensive because, well, if you stick rather to the base price, then it might make sense also to keep with the base engine. But then again, if you spec a car like this and make it so expensive, then it's the question if you can also top up with the next engine. But of course, I want to hear your opinion here on the Porsche Macan with a facelift, and also the question 2-liter versus 3-liter and also 4-cylinder versus 6-cylinder. What do you think, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in.